Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a quick video on how to set a mousetrap, since sometimes these things can seem unnecessarily complicated. The first thing I want to say is that I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to search for this topic. Either you've got mice or you've snapped your finger a few times, and likely both. I'm sorry about that. Alright, let's get right to it. In the interest of time, the first thing I'm going to do is show a quick and easy step-by-step on how to set the mousetrap, and hopefully get you on your way with all the info and skills you need. In case that's not cutting it, after that I'll go through it in more detail with lots of close-ups. Think of it as mousetraps for dummies. No offense. Then I'll show you the best way to apply bait, and then how to set different styles like the traps that have the metal bait pedal instead of plastic. And at the end, I'll go through some common mistakes and problems. Alright, so this is a dry run, but in a real scenario, you'd apply some peanut butter to the yellow pad first. Okay, so the first thing is to grab the trap and put the holding bar out of the way. Then, retract to the kill bar and hold it down securely with your thumb. Next, take the holding bar and rest it on the center of the spring. Then, lift up on the bait pedal and slowly begin to release the kill bar until the tip of the holding bar catches on the trigger hook. Carefully release the kill bar. And that's it. Now you're ready to place the trap where the mice are. By the way, if these videos are helping you out, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. That really helps me out. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully that was clear enough, but now I want to go through it in more detail and really break it down. It can be helpful to define some of the parts of the trap so that you know what I'm talking about. So in this picture, let's go over the basic parts so we're all on the same page. The first is the spring. This is the heart of the trap. The spring provides the force that snaps the trap shut. Next, we've got the bait pedal. This is the yellow plastic tab on this trap. This is where the bait goes, and it's what the mouse has to push down on to trigger the trap. Next is the holding bar. This is the thin metal pin with the hook on the end. It's what keeps the trap armed and ready to go. It's coupled to the mounting board on one end and latches into the plastic trigger hook on the other. The trigger hook is next. This small hook on the end of the yellow tab is where the holding bar catches to set the trap. Adjusting where the holding bar contacts this part determines how sensitive the trap is, which we'll get into later. Lastly, we have the appropriately named kill bar. This is the squarish metal bar that you have to pull back and that snaps down onto its prey. This is what does the job once the trap is triggered. Now, let's go through it a little slower and closer up. The first thing I should mention is that oftentimes when you first get the trap new, the holding bar will be stapled down to the wood, just so it's not flapping around in shipping. To get it free, just pull it out and discard the little staple. Next, grip the trap tightly with the thumb and forefinger of one hand and use your thumb and index finger of the other hand to pull back the kill bar all the way back until it's fully retracted and touching the wood on the other side of the trap. Then, hold it down with your thumb. Next, take the holding bar and rest it on the center of the spring. Now with your other hand, lift up on the plastic bait pedal so that the yellow trigger hook is over the tip of the holding bar. Note that it is possible to lift this too high. You don't want it this high. Lift the bait pedal so that the holding bar just barely touches the trigger hook. Here's where it can get a bit tricky. You need to use a little finesse. You're developing a very useful skill at this point. Slowly begin to release the kill bar so that it puts pressure on the holding bar, forcing it up, to the point where it makes contact with the underside of the plastic trigger hook. Make sure the bar catches just enough so it doesn't slip. Then, slowly remove your finger from underneath the plastic bait pedal. When your finger is out of the way, slowly and gently release the kill bar the rest of the way. Now that the trap is armed, always grasp it from the end opposite of the yellow bait pedal. In case it accidentally gets tripped, you won't get snapped. Alright, so the next thing we need to go over is the sensitivity setting. Honestly, I didn't even know this was a thing, but it sort of explains a lot about traps that trigger too easily. So here's how it works. Depending on which side of the trigger hook that you hook the holding bar to, the trap will be easier or harder to trigger. If you look at the yellow plastic here, you can see some words. On one side it says firm, the other side says sensitive. And if you look under the plastic trigger hook, you can see that the point of contact is shaped slightly differently between the two sides. Here's another style of trap where it's a little more obvious. So to set the sensitivity, you'll want to position the holding bar either on the left for firm, or the right for sensitive, like a hair trigger. I really find that there's little difference between the two settings, and I would recommend using firm. This will help it not go off when you're setting it in position, or if you have it in some place where vibration might be an issue. Obviously, if you have issues with mice taking your bait and not getting caught in the trap, then set it to the sensitive setting. By the way, on this other trap, the two settings are labeled F and S, but they do the same thing. Alright, so now let's go through setting a trap with a metal bait pedal. These ones are a little more tricky. Remember the finesse that was required before? Dial that up by a factor of 2 or 3 for these ones. Okay, so this starts out the same way. Retract the kill bar and hold it down with your thumb. Then, take the holding bar and rest it on the spring, just like before. But this time, instead of tucking the end of the holding bar into a trigger pocket, you rest it so that it catches the edge of the metal trigger hook. A common mistake here is that people try to put the tip of the holding bar through the hole. Don't do that. The metal trigger hook just catches the edge of the tip of the holding bar. Now, gently release the pressure on the kill bar so that it presses the holding bar against the bent divot in the trigger hook. This can take some practice getting it lined up properly. It can help to release back pressure on the kill bar in order to get the holding bar to line up right. Once it catches, then make sure your finger is clear and gently release all down pressure on the kill bar. Here's another style of trap very similar to the Victor one. This one is called Big C. Retract the kill bar. Position the holding bar on the center of the spring. Lift up on the plastic bait pedal. Choose your sensitivity, left, firm, or right, sensitive. Don't worry if it doesn't catch the first time. You still have your thumb safely on the kill bar, holding it back. Just reposition the holding bar. Lift up the bait pedal while simultaneously releasing pressure on the kill bar to hold it in place. And that's it. Always hold it from the side opposite the bait pedal. Now let's see that in action. I'm going to trigger this trap with a butter knife, and we'll slow it down so you can see exactly what happens when it springs. This footage was shot at 240 frames per second, and look how quickly the kill bar swings around. About 10 frames. That's about half as long as a blink of an eye. Nice. Alright, so a few words on the bait itself. I'm a big fan of peanut butter. It smells good, mice like it, and it's sticky so it stays put. Using the traditional cheese, like in the cartoons, is certainly an option, but all too often the mice figure out how to gently lift off the cheese and run off without triggering the trap. So one thing to mention here is to bait your trap before you set it. Very important. That way you don't risk setting it off accidentally. Then take a very small amount, you don't need a lot, like the size of a pea. Smear it right onto the bait pedal, focusing on the center. This forces the mouse to step on the bait pedal in order to eat the peanut butter. Alright, so you now have the trap baited and set. Where should you place it? Well, wherever you've seen the mice. They tend to like to run along walls and they like dark corners. Set the trap so that the bait pedal end is closest to the wall, in the path of where you think they'll be running or hiding out. Look for droppings or chew marks, that's where you'll want to place your traps. And also, don't be afraid to set multiple traps a few feet apart to increase your chances. Okay, so let's go through some troubleshooting now. Here are some common mistakes and problems. First up, holding the trap from the snap end. Just make it a practice, unless it's unarmed or you are retracting the kill bar, hold the trap from the end opposite of the bait. Second, not releasing pressure on the kill bar when you are trying to get the holding pin under the trigger catch. The holding pin won't be long enough unless you lift up on the bait pedal and simultaneously release a bit of back pressure on the kill bar to press that holding bar up. Alright, number 3, forgetting to put the bait on until after you have armed the trap. Just trip it with something other than your finger and start over. Number 4, setting the holding bar too deep. If the holding bar is catching too far into the hook, release the bait pedal slightly so the bar can catch it lightly, just on the tip. Alright, now we've got some common problems that can happen. The first one is that yes, these things can arrive defective, even new out of the box. They're typically less than $1 a piece, so it's not surprising. So if you're having trouble setting one of these things, it might just be defective. It's not necessarily you. Toss it out and try a different one. Okay, another thing that can happen is that the hook just won't latch. This happens when the tip of the holding bar is not bent enough to grab onto the trigger. This can happen out of the box or after you've used or triggered the trap a few times. It just gets bent. Use pliers to give it a little more of a bend so that it can grab that trigger. Another problem is that the anchor points can get loose or bent. Again, usually with use, if the metal pins that are holding the spring or the holding bar down, for example, are bent or loose, the trap might not work. Start over with a different one. Next, reset the trap after each catch. Even if the trap didn't catch anything, mice might have nibbled the bait off without setting it. Also, you'll rarely have only one mouse. After you've caught one, set it again. You likely have more. Another one is pets will definitely trigger these traps going after the bait, so keep your pets away. Last thing I'll mention before I sign off here is, what do you do once you've caught your mouse? Well, you can certainly reuse the trap. You might want to use gloves, just pull back the bar and let the deceased mouse fall into the bin. Otherwise, just throw the whole thing, mouse and trap and all, into a bag and toss it in the trash. Okay, I hope this was useful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Until next time, thanks for watching, PracticalMechanic.com.